Here to weigh in is Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, chairman of the Republican Policy Committee, also a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Welcome. Always good to have you. And it's important to note that Senator Santorum was pulling for a different one of the four contenders, so that may factor into how he feels about this. What do you think about this choice?
Well, I think it's a superb choice. Any one of the four would have been terrific, but there is really nothing that unifies Republican and conservatives as much as the issue of the Supreme Court. All of us, Republicans, conservatives alike, agree that the role of a judge is to apply the law, not legislate from the bench. And I'll tell you, as your last report, it is the Constitution. This is a legal document. It's not a living document. It was built for rigidity, not flexibility. And I think Judge Kavanaugh is the right person. You take a look at his credentials, highly qualified, mainstream, with just stellar credentials. I think he's the right person for the job.
Well, okay, you know that there are plenty of folks who do not feel the same way. There are appeals to your colleagues on both sides of the aisle asking them not to vote for him. I want to read one piece. This is from a piece by University of Chicago law professor. He says, senators such as Susan Collins, Heidi Heitkamp, Lisa Murkowski, and Joe Donnelly must act courageously and wisely at this critical moment in our nation's history to preserve the integrity and credibility of our Supreme Court. They should refuse to confirm this nominee or any successor nominee unless a majority of both Republicans and Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee supports confirmation. Do you think such a candidate actually exists that could get those numbers today?
And not in the year 2018. You know, the senators will speak for themselves, but all those five senators that you just mentioned, all of them voted for Neil Gorsuch to confirm him to the Supreme Court. We know that Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski both voted to confirm Judge Kavanaugh onto the Circuit Court in 2006. So they're going to listen to the testimony. They'll make their own decisions. They'll meet with the judge. They'll ask a number of questions. But I would expect in the end that this is a judge who's going to be confirmed, will be on the Supreme Court for a long time. Remember Justice Kennedy, who just retired, 29 years after Ronald Reagan left office, and Ronald Reagan appointed him, was still on the court. 14 years after President Reagan had died. So at the age of 53, I would expect Judge Kavanaugh to be on the court truly for a generation.
You know, you're giving a lot of people hives tonight. You're scaring the left because that's the very reason that they're protesting and saying that they have these great fears, because these are picks that can change things for decades. That's clearly the case. Okay, so I want to talk to you about some of the international issues too, as now the president is out there on the road. One of his tweets today, he says, NATO countries must pay more. The United States must pay less. Very unfair. He broached this topic last year as they were standing there in front of that new commemoration, the monument there. People felt it was very uncomfortable. He didn't feel uncomfortable. It didn't seem he did. And listen, the more he talks America first, we're told that he's offending allies and causing problems.
Well, a couple of things. One is the president met with a number of senators last night in the White House before he told the country about Judge Kavanaugh. He also mentioned that he was heading overseas, and there was a little brief discussion about that. The president is right. For too many years, NATO has not been doing enough, and President Trump is not the first person to say that. Dwight Eisenhower said that when he was president in the 50s, but Donald Trump is one of the first to ever actually get action. The NATO countries have paid $14 billion more now that he's in office per year than they did under President Obama, because President Trump's tough talk, America first, really made the difference. The U.S. shouldn't pay more to defend the NATO alliance than the different NATO countries who are right there in the location do. They're supposed to go 2%. Very few of them have. Now many more are up to that level, but there's a lot that they haven't paid over the years, and it's time to catch up.
Well, those are goals for 2024, so we'll see how many get to 2% by then and how this tough talk is received as the president's out there overseas. Senator, thank you for coming in, and we'd love to talk to you throughout this confirmation battle this summer and see where it goes.
Look forward to it. It's a nightmare for the Democrats.
Okay, you heard it here. All right, breaking tonight.